Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. Forbes India, CNBC TV 18 present India Inc. on the Move. Sustainable Manufacturing. Powered by Rockwell Automation.
In our previous episodes, we ventured into the realm of sustainable manufacturing to uncover its transformative potential. Brace yourself for another captivating episode as Forbes India and CNBC TV 18 present India Inc. on the Move. Sustainable Manufacturing, the new paradigm for growth, powered by Rockwell Automation. The day-long conclave gathered influential figures and stakeholders in the manufacturing sector, sparking a transformative dialogue. Through various panel discussions, they shared profound insights and strategies, aiming to position India as a leader in sustainable manufacturing. Moderated by Gautam Srinivasan, the esteemed panel of experts engaged in an enriching conversation on reimagining India's life sciences through innovation and automation, exploring innovative approaches and the potential for automation in this sector.
Talking about how India Inc. is on the move, especially from a life sciences perspective, what pharma manufacturers are doing in terms of adopting Industrial Revolution 4.0 technologies. So maybe we'll start with you, Sandeep, on that.
Currently, the pharma industry have an aspiration to grow almost $120 to $140 billion, where we stand at $40 billion currently. And many pharma companies started this journey of I will say digital transformations a couple of years back, and many are struggling to understand what are the use cases they should work out.
From that perspective, Kirit, maybe we could get your viewpoint on how Lupin is looking at this Industrial Revolution 4.0 phenomenon, especially in the life sciences space.
Thanks, Gautam. I think as we shared, pharma and India pharma industry's contribution to a major global supplies right now. Having said that, pharma industry being heavily driven as a compliance and regulatory industry, the adoption was a challenge in a decade back in terms of the digital as well as any other technology changes. Having said that, recent pandemic has provided a spark to our industry to adopt some change in terms of the digital as well as in technology change to address the supply and demand ask of not for India, but of course for the global ask. And technology adoption has, across value chain, has been enlightened by each and every stakeholders. And that shift has put up a lot of approach to adopt the technologies like advanced analytics, of course. We talk about data and digital, and of course all other technologies, allied technologies as well.
Manish, maybe we'll get your viewpoint on this, because while the headlines are all positive, there's still a lot of space to grow and develop, whether we're looking at inefficient clinical research, whether it's improving productivity, whether it's better movement across the ecosystem, because some players might be highly advanced, some players might not be, right? So from that perspective, the phenomenon of pharma players adopting IR 4.0, what are some of the interesting trends that you've seen?
Indian manufacturing and Indian pharma manufacturing is unique the way we do things here. Okay, so there was no template available 15 years ago. So if you try something 15 years ago, you will have a struggle. Over a period of time, people experimented and there wasn't learning, because we have individuals, people who have changed job, so the knowledge grew. Okay, so the ecosystem of knowledge grew, and hence you have more successes coming in Indian pharmaceutical manufacturing as far as digitalization is concerned. Okay, Industrial 4.0, I think that is actually too old. Okay, like to be frank, now if you see the way some of Indian manufacturing companies who are adopting technology is much beyond the 7 tenets or 8 schedule which they added into IR 4.0. So I think people are looking at technologies which can give business benefit. Okay, so keeping business at the center of everything you do, they are looking at what are the business deliverable this technology can give me, and based on that, they're adopting it.
Gagan, on that note, let me come to you from that enablement perspective, considering Rockwell Automation has scores of clients across sectors, but specifically in the life sciences space. You've heard 3 of the major players here in India share the basic presets of what's happening in terms of the life sciences players adopting IR 4.0. What's your response to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the big trends, the use cases that were highlighted, right, with the players on stage is around scalability, agility, how do I grow really, really quickly, right? And those are all the areas that we're leaning in towards, right? And we've been on this journey for probably since 2014, where we saw that convergence. And I think you mentioned it earlier with the pandemic, it changed everything in terms of how the industry is adopting technologies, right? So before, it would take 10 years to bring a drug to market. When the pandemic happened, right, we all saw it unfold in front of our eyes, where it took 2 years, right? So there's a huge amount of pressures for the innovators, right, to say, how do we get these drugs out to market? And so Rockwell's at 95% of all life sciences companies across the globe. We listen to our customers. These are some of our representations of the customers, but it's the same use cases, right? So we're leaning in terms of very key technologies to help collapse that value chain and really drive transformation so you can get drugs out to market faster. As we know that's important. We know scalability and modularity is important. So we're investing in standards where you can automatically sense a lot of those technologies so that you can quickly adapt to the new manufacturing environments that you want. But it's exactly what they're talking about, and those are the enabling technologies that we're moving forward with.
In addition to the panel discussions, the conclave featured informative sessions on remote business continuity, best practices for OT cybersecurity, and more. These concise and informative sessions provided attendees with valuable insights and a comprehensive understanding of these crucial areas.
According to me, I think two of the biggest trends that we see is usage of AI/ML for building intelligence in the manufacturing. And second, on the infrastructure side, really moving to the data cloud and creating the data lakes of the future on the cloud. These two are big things, and followed by, the future is about 5G, how the 5G and wireless communication is going to enable us for future readiness.
Events like this are immensely useful because they are a forum where leaders from industry and Rockwell actually touch base. We talk to each other. We can see ideas, discuss ideas of how to actually drive forward manufacturing. And what is really important, India, there is manufacturing in India that needs to improve to be more effective. But there is a big advantage in India. India is the powerhouse in terms of people who deliver manufacturing improvement globally.
Continuing the enriching conversations, CNBC TV 18's Mridu Bhandari hosted a panel of industry leaders and key stakeholders to discuss strategies for accelerating the contribution of emerging industries to India's growth story.
Let me begin with a focus on the electronics manufacturing space. Satyendra, if I can start with you, what are some of the key focus areas when it comes to electronics manufacturing over the next couple of years? It's relatively new in India. We've been known for our assemblies, not so much for manufacturing when it comes to electronics. How can key stakeholders collaborate better and achieve goals better in the next couple of years?
So let me start with something which we were discussing in the room just before we walked onto the panel. So we were discussing as to what are the emerging industry. And one of the persons said, hey, electronics manufacturing. And another amongst here said, do you really consider it as emerging? That was music to my ears. So that means it's a recognition of the fact that electronics manufacturing is progressing and has come of age, reasonable age. So I would agree with that statement that we are making very, very good progress. I have been someone who believed in electronics manufacturing for many, many years, and this really is a moment wherein I feel really encouraged that we are giving its due focus on electronics manufacturing for many reasons. So the moment is here, and it's for us to lap with both hands, make sure we grab the opportunity and not let it go.
Shyam, what according to you are some of the big challenges that need to be addressed in the electronics and semiconductor industry, and particularly how can we use digital technologies as the answer to some of these challenges?
So when the electronics is been on a boom side, electronic manufacturing is increasing it, there is a trend to increase in terms of digitalization as well. So that is where the digitalization comes into play, where manufacturing can be taken up into the views of the people without even going into the production area. So the major challenges what we face in manufacturing at present is people who are in a management level may not even know what is happening in the down the line. So they get the numbers what has been presented by their fellow persons in the production areas. So the lag is that getting the right numbers in terms of production areas. And second aspect, what I see as a challenge is multiple informations. A decade ago, we need to get an information means we need to gather for 5 to 6 departments, and we need to make a cross-check whether the data is right or not before I present to my CEO or my MD. So that is the second challenge we face it up. And the third one, what I see is the design aspect. People, in terms of technology, we get the designs overseas, but executing that in the ground, the challenges are many.
Let me also shift gears to another emerging industry, which is the data centers. And Harmeet, if I can come to you, what is the current state of the data center industry in India, and what sort of a role is it playing in contributing towards the India growth story?
Data center, as we are growing around digitization, we are growing across IoT, so much of data is available. The bigger challenge is now how to handle the data, right? So obviously data center is the next up thing that we will see coming up globally as well as India, and India won't be an exception. In the, I would say, recent 4, 5, 6 years, the way we see data, I think it's going to be a $10 billion industry very soon for us, that it contributes directly. But indirectly also, it contributes significantly for IT services and operations, which we can't count. So it's contributing significantly to the growth of the manufacturing industry.
Right, okay, so I'm going to ask Ashwin to chime in on that as well. Now, obviously, digitalization is pretty much imminent across the board for every sector, every industry. What role is automation then playing in the whole data center growth story?
I think control automation is a very, very important aspect of data center build. You can't have data centers without control automation. And that's because I believe there are 3 important KPIs that are directly influenced by control automation. First is the availability. Second is sustainability. And third is an enhanced customer experience. So, and control automation will be playing an extremely important role in all the 3 aspects.
And let me then come to you, Kiran. How do you see India's potential when it comes to the green hydrogen industry? And what are some of the big challenges that really need to be addressed at this point to make it more mainstream and cost effective?
So green hydrogen has started gaining momentum for 2 kind of opposite reasons. One is that solar and wind as an energy source is now we got the confidence that it can be a mainstream energy source, not a marginal, right, when it is available, use it kind of thing. So that's one. The other side is the decarbonization or the climate change or the carbon emissions. So now we have more or less accepted clearly that there is a need to decarbonize. And green hydrogen is one of the pieces in the puzzle that actually solves this decarbonization and energy security in a very, very meaningful manner for a country like India. So there is an ambition in the renewable energy players in India, not only to do for domestic, but also export. So the government is putting a lot of efforts, and I think the first round of initiatives they have taken are definitely, we have beaten the other countries in the first round.
You are all critical stakeholders of your respective industries. So tell us, as a stakeholder, what is the next low-hanging fruit that you're going to be aiming at to ensure that, your sector accelerates growth and contributes more to the India growth story? Shyam, if I can start with you.
So from my perspective, I understand digitalization is a low-hanging fruit where it can be implemented in all infrastructure, business needs, and also in manufacturing so that the data can be flown easily. And the process can be made as a data-driven approach rather than a concept or a thought process we can keep it up. The data's drive in reality. So that will help us what exactly we need to reach into.
Right. Ashwin?
Yeah, I think, as I said, that as far as data centers are concerned, growth is not actually the issue. The issue is more to do with the skill sets of people that needs to be really looked at. The other aspect is, of course, the government policies, which I think needs to be put in place. Those 2, I believe, would be the key points in ensuring that the growth is accelerated further.
Moderated by Mugdha Kalra, the panel of industry experts engaged in a compelling panel discussion on the FMCG sector, uncovering new frontiers and opportunities.
So Ram, let me start with you. Volume drive the Unilever story, and scaling is again all about innovation. What are some of the game-changing innovations that have been adopted by Unilever where you saw change while being one of the biggest market leaders, while diversifying your portfolio, and also the lighthouse designation ambition?
Let me answer it in two ways. Post-COVID, Unilever has implemented a new compass, and we went from 3 verticals to 5 verticals, which means we created a new segment called beauty and well-being, separately from the personal care. We also created ice cream as separate from our nutrition, and recrafted our business into a nutrition where you have foods, beverages, the Lipton, Taj Mahal, tea into this. And then, of course, the home care business. And the reason was we wanted to lay more stress on the beauty and the well-being because that segment was, one, it was growing very fast. Second, it was getting too personalized as well. And there we needed what is called as a nano manufacturing. So we created that to have more focus right from the product, which is created, and also to the distribution channels and all. So that's a bit of it which has got now fully ingrained, and we are in the second year of a new compass organogram or an organization change which we have done in Unilever. The second bit is that, post-COVID, we thought that business will grow like a vertical. Everyone thought, okay, 2 years of COVID, we'll grow vertical, but that's not what has happened, For a business like us where we have mass products and then move on to build on the premiumization as well, And it was very important that post-COVID also we continue that trend.
This particular technology, how is it an enabler, and how are you helping enterprises then scale their operations?
Today, right, the way I see the world, the customer is at the center of everything. So the customer is the king, and everything that is kind of rotating around the customer. So you have supply chains kind of aligned with what the customer wants. So everything is driven by the demand that's generated at the customer, by the customer. So what we are seeing is that, there are two facets to this, right? So for a business to be successful, you need to give a customer what he wants, and you need to give a customer when he wants the product. Previously, the customer used to demand like a 3-4 day, like 6 day, 10 day, that was acceptable. But today, the customer demands like a same day fulfillment, same hour fulfillment maybe. So that means that the way the supply chain is structured, the way the fulfillment is structured is completely different. We sincerely believe that the future is getting warehousing, getting the fulfillment much closer to the customer, and not just that, stocking what the customer needs in those warehouses. That's where you bring in the ML, AI, to kind of predict what SKUs you need to place close to the customer. And this is something that's very dynamic. Every season it could change, every week it could change. So you closely need to monitor those trends and kind of automate how all this is synchronized and managed.
Martin, if I can get you in with Rockwell, the consultancy of tech adoption has been one of the priorities, and has been spoken about. When you see the FMCG landscape, what are some of the tech innovations that you have seen find very, very easy adaptability, and what took more time?
Yeah, so let me jump in there. I think what we've seen in the food and beverage or fast-moving consumer good business is, first of all, that technology alone doesn't cut it. I think when one looks at Industry 4.0 in this particular industry, you saw a lot of technology selling, and then what you see is that a lot of customers got onto that boat, but they got lost in the weeds. The learning from all of this is, in terms of technology selling, what we need to do is we need to not talk about technologies because they exist. We do not need to talk about functionality that you could use because it could exist somewhere. You do not need to talk about the superset of everything that you could do. What you need to do is you need to get to a value discussion about where is their business value, what are the levers that if you actually tackle them, and then basically define your projects around these value steps.
Throughout the conclave, diverse rooms served as platforms for ongoing conversations on sustainable manufacturing, offering manufacturers and stakeholders invaluable insights. These discussions spanned a wide range of topics, including on-machine drives and microcontrol, integrated automation solution, among others. As we bring the third episode of India Inc. on the Move, Sustainable Manufacturing powered by Rockwell Automation to a close, we eagerly anticipate the upcoming episode. The discussions will explore key themes such as sustainability in the automotive industry, lighthouse of the fourth industrial revolution, and featured demo and video playout, showcasing smart and sustainable manufacturing in action. Stay tuned as we contribute to India's manufacturing progress through engaging dialogues and collaborative efforts.
Forbes India, CNBC TV 18 present India Inc. on the Move, Sustainable Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.